So welcome to your Chromebook. In this session, I'm going to walk you through some of the tools and features I think will be really useful to you on your Chromebook. I'll start with the way you set it up in terms of what it looks like on the screen. So you may well have the Chrome browser already open for you at the moment, but if not, it'll look like this. You can just cross out that browser window and you'll get to see your desktop. Now we can make some changes here about the way this looks. So if you use your two fingers and press together on the touchpad, you'll get these options: auto hide shelf, shelf position, and set wallpaper. I'm going to start off with set wallpaper because that's quite a nice thing to do. At the moment, when I click on that with one finger press on the trackpad, you'll see that I've a whole range of different backgrounds that I could probably choose from. Some really, really nice ones, landscapes, solid colours if that's all you want, art pictures. And you can scroll through these, and you can select one and see what it looks like. If you don't fancy that, maybe try that. Have a look at it again, not so much. So if you want to then go to set wallpaper, I'm going to go to landscapes because it's one of my favourites. And you can choose the landscape there, the one that you want, or you can sometimes in some of these settings have a daily refresh, or perhaps it's just the landscapes, I think, that allow that. So a daily refresh means every day you switch it on, you'll get a new picture, which might be a nice surprise for you. So let's leave it at the daily refresh, and then I'll cross that window out. And that's an absolutely amazing view to greet me when I switch on my Chromebook. Fantastic. So what are the other options when I press those two fingers together on the trackpad? I get this shelf position. And the shelf position is this little toolbar down the bottom, which shows you the main tools that you're using on a Chromebook. You've got Google Chrome, which is the web browser, Gmail, which is for email, Google Docs, which is for writing documents, obviously, the very popular YouTube, and of course the Google Play Store, where you can download other apps that add more functionality to your Chromebook. So back to this set wallpaper, the shelf position that I was talking about, the auto hide shelf. So the shelf position is currently at the bottom. If I choose left, it'll appear there. And so all the tools will appear there, as well as that feature set that belongs normally in the bottom right-hand corner. If I do a right click again, which is what I call when you press those two fingers together on your trackpad, shelf position could be on the right too, if that makes more sense to you, or I prefer it just at the bottom where it started off, to be honest. The only other option then in that submenu then is auto hide shelf, which if I press and select that, nothing really changes until you open an application like your Google Chrome browser. And when you do that and move off, you'll see the shelf disappears, meaning you've got more screen estate to work with. Might make things clearer for you. But as soon as you move your pointer down to the bottom, you'll see that shelf appears again, which is quite neat. And so we're in our browser. We've got a nice background behind it. We're now in our browser. Let's see the kind of things we can change here. You should be signed into your Google account if that's the way we've set up your Chromebook with your a Gmail address or an email address for you. So, of course, we have the browser here where we could start searching for things. So if I go to BBC News, and it does a search in that search bar there at the top. That's a search bar as well as a bar which tells you which website you're currently on. So when I go to home BBC News, that search bar now tells me which website I'm on. That's the web address. And you know that that's a secure website because it's got a little padlock next to it, if you can see that just there. I'll not sign in. So when you search for a website, up it'll pop, you choose it, and you can use your two fingers to scroll up and down without pressing. Just move your two fingers together up and down, will scroll it for you. So let's have a look at this article, Electric Cars, Your Questions Answered. So select that. And it's a very typical news page. There's lots of information on it, as you can see. So now let's go to another tab. So this is our first tab with the first website we're looking at. If I click on the plus, I get a new tab, which is basically a new search window. And as I said before, you can search in here or you can search in this part also. So I'm going to go for golf. Don't know how many golfers are out there. That's lots and lots of different options I get when I search for golf. I've got some videos that I could watch, but I've also got some websites. Wikipedia is a very popular website. You'll see big encyclopedia of everything that ever existed. And if I'm looking for one further down here, I'm actually looking for golf.com. So there's golf.com. That's the one I'm after. And if we scroll down that's the Taos Augustus National different on TV. And there's lots of different articles on this website, so that's something different from the BBC News website. And then I might go to a third window and then look for something a bit richer. This is called Google Arts and Culture, which you might like to play around with. And it really shows you the power of the internet and what the browser experience can be like, and why so many people are moving over to devices which have just got a browser on it, because everything on the internet is available through the browser, pretty much. This is Google Arts and Culture. It's a fantastic arts and culture website. It has got access to over 2,000 museums across the world, and especially in a lockdown situation, you can travel the world and see many, many famous exhibits. So let's just do something like that very quickly. So if I go to the Explore menu over here, and you can see there's so much to look at here. We could do a whole session on it, to be honest with you. If we go to art movements, and every art movement in the possible world, you probably spot so many famous paintings here. Here's one of my favourites in post-impressionism. I'll scroll down and I'll find it. Here it is here. So these are all post-impressionist paintings. If you click on the painting itself, you will be able to figure out what it is. It's The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. And if you click, or Gogh, whatever you prefer, and click on the painting, and you'll get a little window to the side of this, and you'll be able to use the plus and minus buttons to zoom in. So if I use the plus and minus buttons to zoom in, I can get really, really close to the painting. And if I hold my finger down and press on this little box that's over the painting, I'm able to move up to a part of the painting that I'm really interested in. I'm really interested in this sun. It's a bit blocky just now, but when I let go of my mouse, like so, you can actually see the texture of the paint that made up that painting. Let me zoom a little bit further out. So there's a painting, and you can begin to see the thickness of the paint and how it's actually constructed. And I think that's absolutely fascinating. And you'll never be able to do that in the actual museum itself. That's not going to be something that's possible for you. You'll never get that close. And in fact, if I go to the Museum of Modern Art, there's an option there for viewing in Street View, where you can click on that button and it'll take you to the museum itself, and you can see exactly how it's laid out in the Museum of Modern Art. And if I press with one finger on the trackpad and move the other finger around, what you end up with is a situation where you can actually do a 360-degree turn and movement in and around that space. So I can get a little bit closer to the painting. Let's have a look. Oh, I'm in another room actually, aren't I? Step back a bit. But this is fantastic, isn't it? Being able to have a walk through a museum, see the paintings that you want to see, and in fact, you could probably just jump to the painting that you're after here, or it could be this one you want to look at. So browsers give us lots of rich functionality beyond just searching for the news websites and things like that. To jump between tabs, you just simply click on the tab itself. 1, 2, 3. If you accidentally close a tab, and you close a tab by clicking on the cross to cross that tab out. So there's a golf tab disappeared. If I didn't mean to do that, then I'll right click on this area. Remember, that's the two fingers together to press on your trackpad. And it'll say reopen closed tab, and that's really useful if you've accidentally made a mistake. That's happened to me so many millions of times. If you want to make sure you never lose that, a neat trick is to do your right click again, and then this time choose pin. Now watch what happens when I choose pin. It jumps over here just to a single button, and if I hover over it, it'll tell me what the website is, but I can't close it, so I can't accidentally close that website. If I unpin, it'll jump back out and give me the cross and make it available to me. So there we go. That's a very straightforward, basic introduction to the browser. But I guess you're interested perhaps in many of the other options within the Chromebook, particularly this area down here in the bottom right. I'm going to right click on this shelf and say always show shelf, so I've always got it visible to me. Now, if I've got a couple of accessibility features already set up on this, and when I click on this particular part of the window, let me clear all these messages, I've got lots of different options. We're just going to walk you through them. So the first option here is telling you which network you're connected to. And if you click on the down arrow, you'll see which networks are currently available to you. If you don't have the network password for that particular network connection, that Wi-Fi connection, you can't connect to it. So with the one you've already been given. I've actually got a Bluetooth mouse connected to this to make it a little bit easier for me to demonstrate quickly. It's connected via Bluetooth, and you can buy mice that connect via Bluetooth, or you get a little mouse with a plug, a USB plug to stick into the side of the device, both wireless and fixed if you want, if that's how you want to use your Chromebook. We'll then get notifications, which I've got switched off for a couple of apps. And that's just that some apps want to give you information as you're using the computer, like you've received a new email, or data's been added to this file. Lots of different reasons for giving you a notification. You can switch on Do Not Disturb so that you're not annoyed by notifications, and that'll be fine. That's what I've done today. Then we've got Night Light, which actually just adjusts the temperature and the colours of the screen to make it easier to read in the evening and not so stressful on the eyes. It's called the Night Light. And then I've got some accessibility tools, which I'll look at just now in just a second. We've got volume, which can move up and down. And then we also have the brightness, which can move as a slider up and down. It might not show up in this video. So accessibility, as you can see, when I click on accessibility, there's lots and lots of options here. And I'm just going to focus on a few of them for you today. If I scroll down, you can see that right at the very bottom, I've changed it to a large mouse cursor. And for those of us who've got vision issues, I wear big thick glasses. For those of you who've got vision issues, having a pointer you can actually see moving around the screen can be really helpful. So I can switch it on and off, large mouse cursor. This would be the normal size of the cursor, which you can imagine for some people is a bit too small, so I'm going to keep it large. Then I'm going to highlight the mouse cursor, and I've switched it on. It gives a little red halo around the mouse. So if I switched it off, you'll see that all I'm left with is a pointer. So you can switch these things on and off if you wish. I've got two other accessibility features switched on here, which we think are really useful for everybody. Select to speak and dictation. You just tick these on and off. And what you'll do is down the bottom here, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see they appear. So select to speak, if I tap on that, you'll see this little button appears. And then dictation also appears. Now, these are amazing tools and probably the most used ones within your Chrome browser. So let's see how they work. Let me go back to that story about how electric cars are charged, etc., etc. So of these two tools, I'm going to choose the Select to Speak. Now, I have to click on it first before it will work. Normally, when I highlight some text, I'll put the text caret next to the word, and then I can hold down my my trackpad, press down with one finger, and then highlight, just like so. But when I choose this particular button, the Select to Speak button, and I try and highlight now, it'll give me this purple selection box. Not a Christmas selection box, but a selection box which will capture that text within that space. And when I let go...
How electric cars are charged and how far they go. Your questions answered.
So whatever I highlight, it is going to read out to me. Let's try another paragraph. So I might try and highlight this. And then we go, well, what's happened? It's not speaking it anymore. Well, that's because we haven't switched on the Select to Speak option. And you have to keep going back to this every time you want to do it. So click there, then click whatever it is you want to have read out to you.
The problem is this is slow. It will take many hours to fully charge an empty battery, depending, of course, on how big the battery is.
That.
Expected to take a minimum.
halfway through by clicking back here. And it'll even do things like this. I'll select it again. And this time I'm going to choose the picture and the text here. Watch what happens.
Talk of Brexit deal breakthrough, handle with care. An anti-Brexit protester demonstrates near the conference centre where Brexit trade negotiations are taking place, in Westminster, London, Britain, November 13, 2020.
Now, every picture the BBC does, and across many websites you'll find this, that when a picture's inserted onto a web page, they also add alternative text. For those who have got vision issues, for example, but still want to know what the picture represents, you can choose your select to speak, and it'll tell you what's in that picture, which is incredibly helpful, isn't it? So that's just something very simple. Any website you go to, it could be back to the Starry Night. Let's go back to Google Arts and Culture. You could find some text on these pages. Let's go to Explore again. Historical figures. Fidel Castro. Why not? And select to speak, and then drag that over there.
Fidel Alejandro Castro Ruz was a Cuban revolutionary and politician.
So you get the point there then, that the select to speak option really empowers people to have things read out to them. You can grab as much text as you like and it will read the page out to you. And that's beneficial not just to people with vision issues. That's actually beneficial to us all, isn't it? Whilst it's being read to us, we could go and do something else. We could be busy with something else, cooking the tea or whatever it's going to be. So incredibly helpful. I'm going to choose a new tab for this next thing because I want to use dictation. Now, dictation is when you speak clearly into your microphone, the device recognises what you says and converts it into text. Again, really powerful if you've got challenging issues with typing. I'm a one-finger typer, for example. It takes me forever. So dictation is a really good and quick way of me getting text into the device and to getting words into there. So if I was to switch, if I click on the search term and then click on the dictate button and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, it's compared my voice, it's converted it into text, and now when I press enter, hopefully I'll get all the search results for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's incredibly powerful, isn't it? It can take your text. But one of the most important places you'll do that is in documents. So if I go down to Google Docs here and choose a Google Docs option, and I'm going to start a new document from scratch. And this is just a word processor, so it just allows you to type things and, do the usual things you would do with other applications that are word processors, change the font size, center align, bold, italic, underline, all that usual stuff, add pictures, whatever it's going to be. But I'm going to use dictation here for this just now. I'll give the document a title, so I'm going to call it Charlie. Because it's going to be about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And hopefully when I choose dictate, it will hear what I'm saying and convert it into text very quickly, probably at the same speed that I speak. And let's see how we get on. So, dictate. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was a fantastic film starring Gene Wilder, who used all his talents as a comedian in order to impress all the children and adults in the film. Full stop. And it knows when I've paused and it'll stop. You'll maybe had that little ping there. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was a fantastic film. Now, you would obviously read that again, wouldn't you? You'd read over it just to make sure it's correct. You may well have to make some edits, so it doesn't need to be a capital T there, so I can fix that. But the nice thing about Dictate is you can get lots of stuff into the device quickly and then make your edits once you're in there, which you would normally have to do anyway. And it's not in and order, it's in order. So there's usually still a couple of edits you might have to make, and that's okay, isn't it? So you can also find that tool with voice typing here as one of your options. And then there's another funny option there called Translate Document. So Translate Document, and I want to create a new document, and let me choose French. Let's have a go at French and translate. Wow. That's fantastic. What happens if I select to speak that, I wonder?
Charlie et la chocolaterie était un film fantastique mettant en vedette Gene Wilder et utilisait tous ses talents de comédien pour presser tous les enfants et adultes du film.
That's not the best French speaker in the world, is it? So what could we do about that? Let's have a look. If we go to accessibility and we go to the gear icon up here, accessibility settings, we could change the select to speak settings here and change that voice to French. Okay, with a French accent. Let's have a look at that. I'll cross that window out and go back to my document. And now I'll highlight the text and you'll find... Oh, apologies.
Charlie et la chocolaterie était un film fantastique mettant en vedette Gene Wilder à utiliser tous ses talents de comédien pour presser tous les enfants et adultes du film.
Much better. And if I was to go to a website, imagine I was to go to the Le Monde website, Le Monde. And look at a French story, perhaps. Now, they've already got an option here for translate. You'll notice when I'm going to do this in two ways. Let me choose the select to speak and then grab hold of this.
Le point sur l'épidémie de Covid-19 en France, les patients en réanimation baissent, mais l'heure n'est pas.
But also within some web pages, like this French web page, obviously it knows that it's French because it's lemonde.fr. What Chrome knows is that some of these pages can be translated into English. So we could go to over here on the browser, there's a special button that's appeared that says translate this page. So when I click on that, French and now English is turning it into the English page. So just these two buttons here, back to French, back to English. And there's that French web newspaper written in English for you. That's quite transformational, isn't it? Being able to do stuff like that. And all through the browser and all because you're connected to the internet. Let's put it back to French and just leave it where it is. If you are using those accents to make it speak like that, what happens is when you go back to English and do select to speak,
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was a fantastic.
then you get a French person speaking out to you, don't you? So you would have to go back into bottom right hand corner, accessibility, settings, open select to speak settings here and change it back to English. But there are a whole range of languages and accents there that you might well be familiar with. Arabic, Bengali, Croatian, lots of different types of voices. Have a look at that when you get a chance. So all of these were Google Docs here. And some people will be thinking, well, where's all of that kept? Where's that file kept? And this is where our shelf comes into great use. Down at the very bottom left-hand corner, we can expand that shelf. And this is where we get to see some of our files. Okay, now the nice thing about the cloud and a browser like Google Chrome is that as you're typing, it's constantly saving the file. There is no file save option that you have to do. So you're pretty safe and confident that as you're typing, you're not going to lose any work, which is a great feeling of relief. So if I click on that bottom right-hand corner to expand the shelf and I choose files, I'll get to see my files, and I'll also get to see Google Drive. When I click on my drive, you'll see Charlie is there. I've got other files there as well, but Charlie has appeared in my drive, in my Google Drive. And whenever you use an application like Google Docs or Google Sheets, which you'll see in a minute, you'll find they all save in my drive. If you download any files from the internet, they're likely to appear in my files download. So just let's be clear how we got there again. We went to the bottom left-hand corner. We went to files. We could see my files that are actually stored on the machine itself, usually just the downloads. And then Google Drive is where all of our files are saved in the cloud, in the internet. So my drive would show me Charlie, and then this translated copy of Charlie is also saved automatically too. So that's a great stress reducer, knowing that anytime you create something, it's going to be saved to your Google Drive. That's fantastic. Okay, so those are our documents. We can cross out these windows now because we don't need them and we know they're saved in the Google Drive. Let's see that shelf again when I expand the shelf. You'll see there's some other options here, but there's an arrow desperately wanting to be pressed. So I'm going to press that button here, and you can see the full feature set that you've got available to you on your Chromebook. And the major programs and software you use are Gmail, for example. Chrome is there, but you've also got Docs, Slides, and Sheets. So Slides is a presentation tool, like a similar kind of thing to PowerPoint. Sheets is a spreadsheet program. And then you've got some other options down here that you can use. There is a camera. If you've got a camera attached to your Chromebook, you can take photos too. Okay. Oh, let's expand this again. Is there any more? Yes, there's some more below. So there's a web store, there's a calculator on there, there's a little painting program. You can have a play around with some of these as you go on your way. Back to the bottom right hand corner, back to accessibility. We find most people use select to speak and dictation. There's a high contrast mode, which really, as you can see very quickly, it looks very different from if I switch that off. You know, the white background and the text. If I was to go to a news website, for example, and read this story and change that accessibility feature, high contrast mode, it really is for a vision issue that some people need that white writing on a black background. It also means, however, that some of the pictures are superimposed or you know, that look like a negative, for example. And there's ways of switching that off. But that's the high contrast mode and accessibility for those people who need that feature in order to make using the technology an awful lot easier on their eyes. There is a full screen magnifier. So if I click on that, you can see that I've got zoomed into the picture. And I can just move my mouse or my trackpad up and down, and it will get me closer to the action. Let me go all the way back down to the bottom right hand corner to switch that off into accessibility. But for many of our users, having that feature of the full screen magnifier can be really helpful. And there's a dock magnifier there too. There's an on-screen keyboard. So for those people who want to use that instead of the physical keyboard, if they'd much rather just keep their hand on the trackpad and press it, if I get the on-screen keyboard here, I can just move my pointer to there and press the letters as they come up. And I'll hide that away so it doesn't appear again. Let me switch that one off. If you're on the browser, we can go to the top right-hand corner and click on three little buttons. Lots of options there, but of course, one of the options there is zoom, and that helps us zoom in to web pages and to the screen. So if I go to the BBC News website now and use my three dots to zoom in, that could make reading that page an awful lot easier for me, 150%. Okay. There are lots of other tools there for you to use. One of them, which is really important, is the history options. If you want to look at the history that you've been looking at on this website, so you can see some of the other ones that I've been using. Look to these couple of websites here, or you could look at your full history from beginning to end. It'll open up in a new tab for you, so you'll see your history, exactly what time that you were on that website, and you can click back to it in case you've forgotten all about it. So that Charlie Google Docs window isn't appearing as a tab there just now, but if I click on Charlie Google Docs, it'll open it up for me because it's remembered it's part of my history of activity that I've been doing on the Chromebook. If you want to clear your history, you can click on the Clear Browsing Data button once you've got your full history up. Clear browsing data, and then that means we'll forget your browsing history, your download history, any other cookies, all this information, cached images and files. That makes the internet quicker if you do that. So if I clear the data, it won't have remembered any history anymore. So when I do go to history, clear data, give it a chance to do it. Okay. And so that's going to cover all the very basics of getting to use your Chromebook using the browser. If I go to my BBC News website, it might be a site that I like to use a lot. So I'll finish off by letting you know about bookmarks. So when I choose BBC News website and I want to keep a hold of that and remember it, I can click on this little star, which is all about bookmarking this page. So if I bookmark this page, that's the bookmark I'm adding. I can change the name if I wish. I'm just going to keep that as Home BBC News. And the folder I wanted to go into is the bookmark bar. But you can set up other folders here. But I'm going to keep it as bookmarks bar and then choose done. Nothing spectacular about that, you'll probably think, until we get to our 3 dots here. And I want to go to bookmarks. And I want to show the bookmarks bar. So rather than going here to just use Home BBC, if I show bookmarks bar, you'll see it now appears here. And if I was to go to golf.com and click on that, and I'll just change that to just says golf.com, for example, and be done. Then there's my bookmarks bar. I've got these 2 little tools that websites that I like. I could do it for Google Arts and Culture too. Go back to the beginning of that website. If I go home, and make that a favourite, Google Arts and Culture, you can see it's already ready to rock and roll if I click on done. And there I've got some of my favourites, so that I don't have to search for them every time, so that I don't have to type them all the time. I just bring up my Chrome browser. There will be my 3 favourites. And the nice thing about you being signed in to Google, it means that if you go to a phone or you go to another device, a computer or another tablet, for example, or you go to a library and use their computer, as long as you sign in with your Google account, your favourites will appear wherever you go, so they travel with you. And that's incredibly powerful and helpful for users. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. We might revisit some more stuff again later on, but hopefully that session's been useful to you and you can get a little bit more out of your Chromebook.